Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Tiana here once again, and I am back for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos as always. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, while we're playing through Magolor Epilogue for the Nintendo Switch. So, last time we've essentially did manage to complete it, Area 3 and Area 4. Now, despite the fact that we're still currently missing on quite a few gold medals in some scenarios here and there, but as a result of that kind of stuff though, that's essentially what I'm going to be doing for the sake of the forms of the finale portion of Magolor Epilogue. So today, for this video is about the fact that this will actually potentially be the finale of the forms of Magolor Epilogue. Now, before we get into the forms of replaying through the forms of the boss fights, in addition to the forms of 4-3, for the sake of the forms of the gold medal system, let me quickly go ahead and show you guys the hidden room that you can find during the course of Magolor Epilogue. So basically, all it gets is just basically these well-timing cannon shots filled to the brim with even more magic points, and afterwards though, you will come across into something that is very familiar. Well, for those of you who ever played Kirby games for a long period of time, that's what appears to be body forms of the HAL blocks, like a HAL-shaped blocks. So, pretty cool to be able to actually stumble across into these secret areas like this, especially concerning about the fact that I can assure you that in Kirby's Return to Dreamland, at least specifically in the original version of the game, I think you can only come across into 2 of these secret rooms like this, and I can assure you in the Deluxe version on the Switch, I believe they somehow managed able to increase that into 4 of one of those HAL secret rooms. So that seems pretty cool and all that stuff though. That's actually also another method you can able to actually grind as many of those magic points as much as you could. So, but either way, that's all I can really say about this for the most part, especially that since we first time completed that particular secret stage, that means we can be able to get even more magic points to our disposal. So, yeah, everything else will be pretty much expected at that point. So, now we need to go ahead and refight against the previous bosses again, except now about the fact that hopefully we'll get ourselves the gold medal or higher. Because obviously on the first attempt, I, for whatever reason, keep on getting silver medals on my first run-through of those bosses. Mainly because of the forms of, you know, being hastiness when it comes to, like, not only getting hit a lot, but also with the forms of losing combos as well. So hopefully these will be a much more better run than the forms of how it does it on my first attempt when it comes to those bosses, when it comes to the forms of gold medal runs. So, either way, so that's essentially all I'm going to be focusing on, and potentially I might also hit back onto World 4-3 again, so just to ensure I will definitely get myself the gold medal in the process for the sake of time, or potentially a platinum medal if I'm lucky enough. So, yeah, that's what I can say about this for the most part. Even though originally, though, this is my second attempt for this recording session, nothing to do with the capture footage or anything else like that, but it's more specifically my commentary is the problem. Especially that during the other day, I did somehow manage to able to dip quite well during the forms of the commentary segment, but then for whatever reason I just realized that I'm feeling a little bit too stuttery at points, which, as a result, it doesn't feel that much pleasant when it comes to able to looking back on my first attempt during my commentary. So this might actually be my second attempt during the forms of my commentary anyway, so hopefully it'll make things 10 times better than the forms of how it does on my first attempt. So, there we go. At the very least, we got ourselves the gold medal on this particular first boss in Magolor Epilogue at least, so that should be all good. So, anyways, let's talk about the forms of today's discussion, and that is about the fact that, as you probably already know, today's date is of course the 28th of April today, in this case in 2023 today. Naturally speaking though, we're getting very close to the point that we've almost at the 5th month of the forms of 2023, which is of course May. So even then though, I'm very excited about the forms of May, enjoying the forms about the fact that, of course, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is almost approaching, and straight to the point, we've only just got about roughly 2 weeks left now until the game finally launches onto the Nintendo Switch. And it seems that about the fact that for Wii U owners, they potentially will miss out on that game just because the Wii U is end of production ever since Injury Forms have been 2017, since the Wii U does have poor sales. So And as a result of that kind of stuff, that pretty much saying something, especially because concerning with the commercial failures, and on top of that, with the name, it feels a bit lame. So, either way, though, that might be saying something, so... Anywho, though, oh, and speaking of which, though, is about the fact that Endurance Forms event tomorrow anyway, that, for those of you guys do sort of remember the Nintendo Switch game called Nintendo Switch Sports, well, generally speaking, until tomorrow anyway, that game is going to be 1 year old until tomorrow, despite the fact that I wasn't really overly keen on the game as much, compared to the forms of how it does it not only on the original Wii Sports, but also with Wii Sports Resort as well, just because those two games are the most, you know, still is the most iconic games during the forms of the Wii era, when it comes to likely for its multiplayer content and also fun factor to it. So as a result of that kind of stuff though, plus with the actual introduction of the forms of the continuous free update system, which as a result, it bothers a lot of players, especially because if they started to lose interest with it, well, they really start able to lose interest, especially because of the forms of not only for its bare bones content, but also you have to wait later down the road for the stupid free update system. So as a result of that kind of stuff though, that's as far as I can usually think about it. So either way, so let me go ahead and upgrade my health bar a little bit, so just to ensure I will able to get my more health to my disposal. And let me go ahead and yeah, I think I should probably leave it to that. So I was expecting if I was trying to able to upgrade my magic barrier, or potentially speaking with levitation, but I think what I'm gonna do is that if I keep on collecting some more magic points, I'm also able to, well, should I say, for the sake of time, I'm also able to actually upgrade my health the most, because obviously I just want to really see what really happens if we do somehow manage to able to level up my health onto level 9, so in this case the maximum level. So anyways, let's go ahead and take down this boss again. So, and hopefully with a gold medal run, I think we should be okay for the most part. So something's worth noticing for the sake of convenience that is about the fact that, well, generally speaking though, it's about the fact that, well, recently, for those of you who lived in Japan, that, suffice to say, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, that, for those of you who lived in Japan, has recently came out today in Japan. So, it looks like we've only got one more country left during the forms of the film's release, and that's gonna be in Poland. So, yeah, that might be potential about the fact that that was the only country it got left until when it actually gets its release or somewhat. So, either way though, that will be super excitement, all things considered, especially because that, for the most part, I'm very curious to know about the fact that, interesting enough, is that there is generally a special screenings in the Japanese language in during forms of it not only in the USA, but also in Canada as well. So relatively speaking though, about the fact that generally speaking, that is supposed to be able to be released during forms of in this coming weekend, between tomorrow and Sunday. So relatively speaking, yeah, for US and Canada, they're expected able to come across into the Japanese dub version of Super Mario Bros. Movie, which I'm curious to know what that's going to be all about, especially concerning about the fact that I'm also very curious about the actual huge comparison between the forms of not only the English version of the film, but also with the forms of the Japanese release of the film as well. But I'm sure we'll find out more details about that, assuming of course if someone else out there were able to actually experience the film on the Japanese dub version. So I'm actually very curious about that. So anyways, let's go ahead and upgrade my health into level 8. So I've only got one more level left for trying to able to level up my health until my health amount will be maximum. So hopefully, potentially, that might be seems the case. So, but I digress. So yeah, that seems all cool. And as far as I'm aware, it does manage to contain specifically 10 specific locations from the likes of the forms of in the USA or in Canada. Well, potentially speaking though, it did somehow begin the actual special screenings in Japanese dub version recently today, and then I think it's full likely so it only lasts until for a limited time offering. So as a result of that kind of stuff though, some of these locations include, which are Los Angeles in CA, and also there is the forms of New York, in this case New York City, and also Vancouver, during the forms of in Canada, and finally San Francisco. I'm not exactly sure about the other few locations though, because obviously about the fact that there was Toronto, and also Seattle, and finally Honolulu. I think that's what it says anyway. So yeah, it seems pretty cool to able to have those specific selections of those particular screen times during the forms within the Japanese version of the actual film itself. So, oh, and talking of which though, actually, it's about the fact that recently, Kirby, he's now 31 years old just recently, and because of that though, well, I'm happy to say, happy 31st anniversary or happy 31st birthday for the likes of the Pink Puffball, which is Kirby himself, which is still is without a doubt is one of my favorite game series of all time, especially that's the reason why that I am now interested with the forms of the Kirby series after all, because, you know, all of those games are good, damn good. So as a result of that kind of stuff though, that's what I can say about it. So, anywho though, oh yeah, aside from all that stuff though, there was some interesting news I would like to discuss. First of all, do you guys even remember about the fact that we briefly mentioned about this before, in the past anyway, that basically we were able to actually get ourselves Lego Donkey Kong during the course of the Super Mario, or the Lego Super Mario lineup? As it turns out, about the fact that out of nowhere, we're about to be able to getting even more Kong members during the forms of the Lego Super Mario lineup, and which appears to be body forms of the rest of the Kong members based off on the likes of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, which are Diddy Kong, Dixie Kong, Cranky Kong, and Funky Kong. So unfortunately no Tiny Kong or Lanky Kong, or heck, even especially noticeable with Chunky Kong essentially, because I think, suffice to say, I think the actual retro old days is actually passing away when it comes to certain characters, and there's no Donkey Kong Jr. either. Oh well, no big deal. So yeah, for what I've looked at the forms of Lego, Diddy Kong, Dixie Kong, and Cranky Kong, and Funky Kong during the forms of the Lego lineup, they all look pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie for saying this, especially concerning about the fact that I'm not exactly sure when these Lego sets are gonna be releasing during that time. So either way though, I'm quite puzzled about this, especially concerning about the fact that obviously the Lego Donkey Kong himself will obviously came out during exactly the same day as in Lego Sonic the Hedgehog is going to be in existence. So either way, that's what I can say about this for the most part. So, and also on top of all that stuff though is about the fact that, relatively speaking, I'm happy to report that Nintendo is now finally being confirmed to able to join in the upcoming event, which appears to be Gamescom 2023. So yeah, I'm very happy about this, especially that after the events of last year, that Nintendo does not take part during the forms of last year. So I'm very hyped about this, especially concerning maybe it might able to actually announce something new or something like that. Well, it's hard to tell for this point, because I know for a fact that we're still on April at the moment, so it should be roughly about 4 months at this point. So as a result, the date for the likes of the forms of Gamescom 2023 is going to be participating in for, and it's going to be on the 23rd all the way up to the 27th of August this year. And once again, it's going to take place in Germany, so they'll pretty much expect at this point, especially that, you know, I'm very happy that Gamescom is now going to be involved in Nintendo this time. So, at the very least, that's a good thing, because, well, despite the fact that, you know, this year's E3 is once again dead due to the forms of the lack of interest and stuff like that, which I know it seems incredibly, disappointing once again, especially concerning at this point in time, I basically now give up on the forms of the E3 stuff at this point in time, although because potentially speaking, the future at this point is actually a lot different compared to what we used to back in the forms within the old days, so that's something we need to able to classify for noticing this from the get-go. So anywho, so I guess it's that. And also on top of all that stuff though, out of nowhere, that we're actually getting ourselves the unexpected release date from the likes of the forms of the PlayStation VR 2, at least specifically the UK release or something like that, because I know for a fact that maybe because I'm used to with the forms of the North Americans release, that it already came out in North America, usually in the 22nd of February this year, but out of nowhere when I looked up on the actual game website just recently, and then I found out that the release date of the PlayStation VR 2 is a bit different in the UK version. Like, it did say 12th of May 2023, which is roughly exactly the same day as in The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom's release. So yeah, kind of interesting of how that day is going to be quite big, all things considered, when it comes to both of those releases during that day. Oh, and on top of all that stuff though, is about the fact that, well, recently, until about that time, during the forms of this uploading schedule for this, is that, well, I think I should probably explain more details about this until whenever we get onto the forms of the final bit of the forms of Magolor Epilogue. So because of this though, hopefully this will be our better opportunity to able to get ourselves, I would say, a gold medal or bronze, no, not bronze, the platinum medal. So let's see. Oh, goody, platinum medal. About top notch of how that is. So there we go, folks. I think the medal system is now done, so I think that should be all good to go. So I believe we can now able to actually get into the final boss in terms of the forms of Magolor Epilogue. And something tells me with these puff of clouds, I believe that might be something related to for later. So anyways, let's upgrade ourselves our health into its max level, and let's get into the last stage in Magolor Epilogue. Holy macaroni, it basically plays out exactly like the forms of Grand Duma from the likes of Kirby's Return to Dreamland a little bit. Although the noticeable difference, as you can tell, is that the name is actually a lot different, because it now says Crowned Duma. Okay, that's a bit interesting. So either way, I can assure you, this plays out pretty much like Grand Duma. So, except the noticeable differences there, we don't usually learn the copy abilities on this boss fight. So, because obviously the only methods we can able to attack him is by simply we have to use the magic spheres, or potentially speaking, my personal favorite is trying to maneuver with, you know, Magolor Surge, but despite the fact that I won't be recommending using Magolor Surge a bit too much, because there are a couple of times you might accidentally run into him and stuff like that, so I guess that might be some consumption. So I suppose that pretty much does it for the first half, and oh geez, he managed able to destroy the entire background of it. Gee, I wonder what that's going to be all about, huh? So of course his attacks might have felt a bit new at the time, so we definitely need able to dodge a lot of his new attacks, so... But it does take a while to able to actually deal the amount of damage to Crowned Duma at times, because there are a couple of times though I was expecting if the actual strength might able to actually help me out and such, but either way, but that wasn't until whenever we get to later on though, that at the very least we can able to do, oh jeez, I'm gonna have to able to stay at the back, so just in case I don't want to get hit by those rampaging Dumas to somehow spawn in one another. So anyways, let's go ahead and use this, so... And hopefully he's almost done for good. And... oh, so close. There we go. Whew. That was actually a bit tough. But either way though, when you get the hang of it though, he's actually not too bad. So, either way, we got even more magic points. So that way we can able to upgrade any of those things as we want. But turns out it's not exactly over yet. Because I think something tells me we will come across into the true final boss in Magolor Epilogue. And is it just me, or is the entire background looks kind of similar to the forms of how it does in Kirby and the Forgotten Land, with Lab Discoverer, or something like that? I don't know about you, because it does kind of remind me of it. Holy macaroni, what the heck is up with this thing? As it appears to be more accurately like a mock-up Satan version of Wispy Woods or something. But either way, here we are in the forms of the true final boss in Magolor Epilogue, and that's what appears to be known as Master Crown. So either way, all we have to do is basically, I think something tells me we need to able to keep on utilizing magic spheres to able to actually shoot right at the forms of the actual tree roots itself as its weakness, so, or its weak spot, whatever what that is. So I guess that's as far as I can usually try to explain about this particular fight personally, because other than that, that's what I can really say about this. So, either way, let's just go ahead and quickly dodge certain attacks, and hopefully though, without even too much of a... Oh jeez, I completely forgot about that attack. In fact, kind of thinking about it, this particular attack right there does kind of reminds me of the forms of Marks from the likes of the forms of Kirby Superstar almost, even though the only noticeable changes this time is that, well, it obviously takes place in a different environment as opposed to the forms of in the, well, you know what I mean, the outer space or somewhat, so... Alright, so we'll just have to able to keep on defending ourselves for the most part, and just keep on attacking the actual, this weak spot, and hopefully with enough damage, well, assuming so anyway, because something tells me we barely damaged him so far, so either way though, but hopefully we'll try to able to continue proceeding for this. Oh, there we go. So either way, we are now moving on to, I would say, the next phase of the fight, so I wonder what that's going to be all about, so... No, I do apologize for that particular, somewhat of a weird recording session for this points today, in terms of commentary anyway. It's most notably because I think Donkey Kong accidentally knocked the actual door out, so... But I was gonna keep on telling him to keep quiet and all that stuff, but apparently he can't help it for all that. Bongos he's gonna be keep on playing about, and all the other stuff. I was gonna try to tell Diddy Kong to able to calm him down, but... Either way though, I'm sure he knows what he's doing, so... Oh jeez, that's a one massive apple bomb. So I believe something tells me in order able to get rid of it, we need to keep on shooting at it, so... Well, at the same time though, there's some enemies involved, so I highly doubt I'll get hit for that particular explosion rate, which I just did, so... Anyway, let's just go ahead and use the actual Magolor cannon, just in case we can able to actually deal a decent amount of damage, but either way though, I can assure you about the fact that I think so far, this is without doubt one of the hardest boss fights I've ever had to face so far. Especially concerning about the fact that don't expect things too much, you might get hit a lot, right there, which I was not expecting for that particular attack either, that he's almost gone into a close-up, which I must say, it does looks pretty much intimidating, especially concerning compared to the forms of how it does it in the actual Magolor himself, during the forms of in Kirby's Return to Dreamland and stuff like that. He certainly looks a lot more intimidating than Magolor, for sure. But either way, I think I get a horrible feeling I might attempt to die on this fight, because I can assure you I don't think I can probably able to do this on the first attempt, but I'm sure enough though about the fact that if as soon as I select continue, then obviously it'll continue the actual boss fight, so I'm presuming so anyway, so either way though, because I was expecting to able to try to dodge certain attacks without even realizing and such, but either way, let's just go ahead and just... Oh jeez, I've only got a little bit of health left, so... Oh jeez, I'm actually quite nervous about this, especially because of all these attacks that he's pulling off. It's pretty insane if you ask me, so either way though, yeah, that's as far as I can usually say about this, I guess, so either way. Oh jeez, that was a truly definition of a close call right there, but still. Yeah, because it actually requires me to do a lot of concentration right here, especially Oh, dang it! I was so close! I guess I'm also able to continue, I guess. But at the very least, though, we don't have to worry about trying to start all over again, all the way to the beginning of the forms of Crown's Duma, so... Oh well, I guess this will be the second attempt during the forms of Master Crown. Because so much so, if you ever think to yourself about the fact that you might able to do this on the first attempt or something, you're probably going to lose at least one attempt for battling this guy. Well, I'm not giving up. So as a result of that kind of stuff though, I'm hoping I can able to succeed. So, at least I know what the attacks are, so it's just about the fact that with all this hastiness, becomes a bit of a problematic for my skills anyway, so... But, yeah, I could imagine about the fact that if you managed able to play 4-player mode in this entire final boss, it will be extremely chaotic, especially because concerning about the fact that you're going to get hit a lot. Not going to assure you about the fact that if player 1 dies, then obviously it just, well, potentially speaking, in the regular Kirby's Return to Dreamland as the game itself, obviously if player 1 dies, basically it just, like, takes you back to the beginning portion of the segment, and as a matter of fact, compared to player 2 and player 3 and player 4, basically though is about the fact that you're potentially wasting a lot of lives. So, generally speaking, because much like the forms of Super Mario 3D World, then it's pretty much exactly the same feature as far as I'm concerned. So, oh, alongside with the forms of Kirby Star Allies as well, so that might be another one of those things to classify for something. So, oh jeez. So anyways, we're now back on the forms of the final phase of the fight again, and let's just make sure we don't able to die again, because if we do, then otherwise it will be the insane amount of jump cuts or somewhat. But either way though, it's just I don't find this boss fight to be all that hard. It's just that about the fact that I was not expecting with that particular hitbox when it comes to the forms of getting hit by its weak spot. So, which I did somehow accidentally manage to able to utilize Magolor Surge to able to actually just to dash through into other things, but potentially speaking though, it's just about the fact that it was probably one of my fault scenarios or somewhat, so, oh well, no big deal, but at the very least, unlike the forms of how it does it in the main story mode, in the likes of Kirby's Return to Dreamland and stuff like that, basically though, we don't have to worry about the limited amount of lives, so this is just me, or is the entire background almost kind of reminds me of one of those scenes from the likes of the forms of The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride. Like, except the noticeable difference is there, is that it seems very obviously about the fact that it takes place into the alternate dimension instead of the forms of the Pride lands, so... And I can assure you, one of those scenes in particular, that I'm pretty sure that both Nuka, alongside with the forms of Natani, or anything else like that, did somehow manage to able to, like, trigger the fire into the actual somewhere in the savannah, or somewhat, and there it goes. Whew. That's definitely a bit tricky, definitely one of the hardest fights in the game, because I can assure you, because of the forms of how the fact I was not expecting for that particular attacks to dodge. But of course, if you think this is over, well, as it turns out, according to this particular cutscene right there, I think it looks like Magolor's up to something. Oh, he's grabbing his sword? What, as it becomes like Magolor in the Black Knight? Or, generally, he's gonna able to let the swords turn into an Ultra Sword or something? Why, yes it is. He turns the actual regular sword to an Ultra Sword. That's actually pretty swell. And of course, we can never forget the forms of, I was not expecting for that. Wait a minute. I think my analog stick is not gonna register in there and all that. Anyways, let's try this again. So once again, we have to rotate the control stick and hope for the best, and hopefully that pretty much does it for the final boss in Magolor Epilogue. Oh wait. So that's the second time we actually doing this, especially with that particular special attack. And as you saw right there, if you didn't manage to pull off the actual special attack, I believe you do lose a bit of your health. So just be careful not to fail so many times. That's what I can really say about this. Well, as it looks like that particular portal exists, and something tells me Magolor is going to go in there, and hopefully he'll find himself his new life. So, I can assure you, with that particular thing as we saw, during the forms of that particular introducing portion of that, one of those fruit segments or something like that, and then fuse them together as in one of those. Actually, kind of think about it, that particular staff right there, as you can see on that particular credits roll sequences right there, it does feel something more accurately likely related to the forms of gem apples, which I think I've already mentioned about this during the course of in the last video, which, yeah, that particular gem apple was actually based off from the likes of not only Team Kirby Clash Deluxe on the 3DS, but also with the forms of Super Kirby Clash as well. And speaking of Super Kirby Clash, essentially, I almost finished up the game, like, I already mentioned about this before, I've already, finished up with the actual story quest, but the only ones I'm doing right now, which is the Forms of the Party quest, and jeez, it's something I guess, especially concerning about the fact that most players attempt able to quit out the match or anything else like that, but either way, that's something I suppose. But then again though, we'll probably talk more on that if we somehow manage to decide to take a look at Super Kirby Clash in the future. So either way though, with all that being said though, is about the fact that with this credit sequence in mind, that it obviously shows us the forms of the Gem Apple staff, as you can tell. And on top of that, some certain screenshots based off from the likes of Magolor Epilogue, and I believe something tells me about the fact that they'll show us the actual connection between the forms of this alongside with the forms of Super Kirby Clash, because I think something tells me about the fact that later on in this staff credit sequence that it will show us something is a bit interesting. So either way, now I suppose I should probably give you guys my final thoughts of the forms of Magolor Epilogue as far as the actual side mode is concerned. I will say, this is a welcoming addition to the forms of the deluxe version of Kirby's Return to Dreamland and stuff like that. Especially, it's more accurately, it kind of reminds me of the forms of, you know, Bowser's Fury a little bit. Although, despite it's pretty short though, especially concerning about the fact that the only thing that matters to you is to complete the levels as normal. Well, unless if you really want to go for a true 100% completion, that as you probably already know, that since that we've actually got ourselves the every single gold medals, or platinum medals essentially, well, we actually got quite a few platinum medals for certain levels. But ultimately though, we only want is just the gold medals, and that's all there is to really think about. And especially noticeable because concerning about the fact that, well, again, we'll point things out whenever we get to that particular last bit of the forms of Magolor Epilogue before we move on to the forms of the next mode. So, oh yeah, I should also mention about this as well, about the fact the matter is though, after we completely done with the forms of Magolor Epilogue, I want to classify for that particular discussion about the forms of the continuation of this uploading schedules in regards of the forms of this game itself, of course being Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe as a matter of fact. I'm actually going to be taking a break for a while until God knows when, because either way though there are, oh, looks like we actually come across into something very familiar with that screenshot, especially concerning about the fact that we're relatively speaking, that is essentially exactly the same environment as it takes place during the forms of Super Kirby Clash, just because of all that particular familiar village right there, alongside with the actual shop market that he built up, alongside with that the gem apple tree that I presuming he did manage to plant it and all that stuff, and something tells me he's now in a green makeover, which I think is actually pretty cool looking. So yeah, anyway, let's and another thing I should probably also mention is about the fact that the only drawback with this particular mode, I will admit though right away, is that the multiplayer aspect in Magolor Epilogue, it just feels a bit too chaotic for my liking, so as a result though, but still, it's a nice welcoming addition during the forms of being Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe itself, especially concerning about the fact that at least we actually got something new out of it. So either way though, I highly recommend Magolor's Epilogue or Magolor Epilogue. During the forms of the actual one of those side modes you can definitely check out if you do manage to able to complete the story mode first from the likes of Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe first. So, and that's the ending. So, see you around until Super Kirby Clash as far as the actual hint is concerned. But of course, as I mentioned this before, we're not exactly done with Magolor Epilogue just yet because, well, we return back to the main menu, of course, and now we got ourselves a special mask representing Epilogue, well, Magolor Epilogue right there, completionist. And on top of that, we got ourselves a silver trophy on that particular corner right there, which, believe me about the fact that, like I said before, we're not exactly done yet, because since that, after all, we've actually got every single gold medals in each and every single level, the final thing is going to open up. So, for instance, it's going to bring us into an extra stage. So, an extra stage has opened. The final stage, well, now awaits. So, yeah, I wonder how this is going to be all about. So, before we get on to that though, let me go ahead and upgrade my, let's just go for Magolor Surge. And I think that's about it, basically, because I don't think I've actually got enough points so I can able to actually potentially try to max out everything. So, here we go, on to the final stage in Magolor Epilogue, and that will be about it for the likes of Magolor Epilogue. And I believe something tells me that this is going to be all about the forms of trying to get away with that particular shifting wall, as you can tell. And I believe something tells me also is that the actual environment itself looks kind of familiar, doesn't it? Especially concerning about the fact that this is almost entirely related to the forms of the actual dimension segments from the likes of the forms of the regular Kirby's Return to Dreamland itself, especially because the layout is pretty much exactly kind of similar, although, relatively speaking though, the entire background feels like in a different color almost. So ultimately though, you go for the entire endurance when it comes to the forms of the extra stage, so I can assure you you're able to actually experience some of those familiar layouts based off from Cookie Country, Raisin Ruins, as well as Onion Ocean, alongside with the forms of White Waffles, or Woofers right there, and on top of that, Nutty Noon, Egg Engines, and finally, Dangerous Dinner. Well, mind you, I don't think we can probably experience every single one of those familiar dimension segments from the likes of the main story mode, from the likes of Kirby's Return to Dreamland itself, or anything else like that, and wow, I got, wow, over 100 combo, even though we did somehow ended up in 132 combo, which I think is actually pretty swell if I have to say so for myself, especially with all that particular Magolor cannon that we did somehow use. So yeah, everything else goes all pretty swell. So yes, let's talk about the forms of another topic at this point today, and that is about the fact that, well, I'm happy to report about the fact the matter is though, is about the fact that we actually getting ourselves, oh no, oh god, I somehow got stuck. I was not expecting I got crushed at the end. Oh well, we'll go ahead and continue. But thankfully, we got a checkpoint right there, technically, so we don't have to worry about start all over again throughout the entire extra stage, because otherwise, though, that will be a bit of a pain, mind you, especially concerning that unlike the forms of, you know, Super Mario Galaxy 2, Super Mario 3D Land, and Super Mario 3D World, and heck, even especially noticeable with Super Mario Odyssey, where it comes to the actual, like, the true final levels with the, you know, the hardest levels in the games. Well, basically though, every time you die, you have to start all over again in the beginning portion of the level, so... But I'm sure it's generous when it comes to the checkpoint system in this mode as well, so either way. So, yeah, I'm happy to report about the fact that there's going to be a brand new micro SD card is going to be on its way from the likes of the forms of the Nintendo Switch data and stuff like that, which as a result, we're about to be getting the forms of 1 terabyte, and that's what appears to be based off from the likes of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom theme. So that's actually pretty epic in every way, especially concerning about the fact that imagine if I was running out of space from my Nintendo Switch when it comes to digital stuff. Well, seems as it turns out about the fact that eventually at some point in the future, maybe I can probably potentially try to get myself the 1 terabyte micro SD card at some point in the future, alongside with the forms of the Nintendo Switch OLED model, assuming of course about the fact that if my kickstand isn't exactly working properly. But we shall see what happens in due time, especially concerning about the fact that I'm still saving up from the likes of the forms of... Well, at this point in time, the only thing I need to save up is right now, it appears to be Pikmin 4, because obviously I've already pre-ordered, you know, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and of course Sonic Origins Plus physical versions of the 3 versions of the game, much like the forms of how it does it in Sonic Mania Plus. So, because, you know, die-hard Sonic fans alike. So... Oh, and also, something's worth noting for is about the fact that, relatively speaking, that we're actually getting ourselves a new tour coming up during the forms of a Mario Kart Tour, and that's what appears to be, I think it could be something more related to the Bowser Tour, because, relatively speaking, in addition about the fact that they'll brings us into the Koopaling Mii racing suits and stuff like that, but also potentially speaking, they're able to actually bring back one of those tracks based off from Super Mario Kart. And apparently though, according to the forms of the actual, like, some articles and stuff like that, it did say Bowser Castle 3 based off from Super Mario Kart. So, yeah, I will say that it's actually a pretty cool comeback to able to actually see Bowser Castle 3 based off from the likes of the forms of Super Mario Kart. So yeah, that's actually super awesome indeed. and maybe potentially that some people seemed able to say it could be one of those possibilities it could able to actually bring into Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in the future, specifically Wave 5, which I'm really hoping that be the case, because obviously, that unlike Vanilla Lake, I found this kind of dull, and especially noticeable, it is extremely short. Plus, because we already got ourselves Snowland based off from Mario Kart Super Circuit during the course of the forms of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So, I highly doubt that Vanilla Lake might not be here, despite the fact that it did. Oh no! Oh, I did fell off again. Oh, I'm being so hasty again. Maybe because I keep on sending too many magic bombs to able to actually break certain blocks. Maybe because I was being too busy doing a lot of combo reactions, so yeah, I'm being so hasty again, so that seems kind of underwhelming. But at the very least though, that we still got the checkpoint, so again, super generous, or stuff like that. So, yeah, because despite the fact that usually in the Coconut Mall racing track, they did able to actually mention the actual cameo for the likes of the forms of Vanilla Lake, one of those billboard signs. Well, I highly doubt it probably not be likely coming to the forms of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but it could be a bit of possibilities between, well, I would say this right now, I think I would personally love to see Bowser Castle or Bowser's Castle 3 from the likes of the forms of Super Mario Kart returning onto the forms of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, because as far as I'm aware, we've never actually got any of those retro Bowser Castle courses so far in terms of Mario Kart 8, well, for the Wii U, and especially noticeable with the Switch version as well. So, it might be the perfect opportunity that we will definitely get ourselves Bowser's Castle 3 on Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, because that will be extremely amazing, especially concerning about the fact that, well, from what I've seen, the actual track so far is actually well made, or pretty well made, for able to actually bring that track make its return during the forms of Mario Kart Tour, despite the fact that I somehow managed able to be, well, coming back to it at one form or another. So, either way though. Oh, and on top of all that stuff though, is about the fact that I get the strong sense of feeling, although it might be a bit of a too early process to able to actually mention about that stuff though, but either way though, I'm pretty excited able to see Bowser's Castle 3 being remade during the forms of Mario Kart Tour despite bad controls in mind. So, anyway, so the next thing I want to mention is that, well, potentially speaking, out of nowhere, that we're actually getting ourselves another party game on a Shadow Drop, at least as far as I'm aware. Because, do you guys even remember during the forms of last year, despite the fact that that game is pretty much garbage anyway, that's what appears to be by the forms of Garfield Lasagna Party that we've already got, from the likes of the forms of last year, from the likes of the forms of multiple platforms on PlayStation, Xbox, and even Nintendo Switch essentially, and as far as I'm aware, out of nowhere, we're getting ourselves on yet another third-party Mario Party clone, but this time it's going to be involved around Inspector Gadget, so this seems interesting enough, especially concerning about the fact that the game's going to call it Inspector Gadget Mad Time Party, and it is expected to be released until fall this year, to be more specifically autumn in 2023. So, and I think it's been made by the same developer as the forms of how it does it in Garfield Lasagna Party. So, it's pretty crazy kind of think about it, able to actually announce one of those games to the other when it comes to like any other like years for that matter. So, but either way though, still no luck of the forms of well, still no luck with the forms of the brand new Mario Party thing for now on, but either way though, that might be potential for the sake of the forms of 2024 or this year, depending on the forms of other stimulations to come, so. Oh, and by the way, something I would like to mention is that, unfortunately though, well, it might be seems like a good thing all in all, because I don't usually deserve the Little Mermaid live-action movie, but as far as I'm aware, is that, well, apparently they are getting a lot more dislikes, especially concerning about the fact that, well, whatever though I've looked up on the forms of how the fact that, well, what I've noticed something already is that the Little Mermaid live-action version is probably going to get destroyed yet again, and no matter what though, the backlash is getting worse for the likes of Disney after this. So because of this though, what they did they've shown us the forms of some posters from the likes of the Little Mermaid live-action movie. And good God, what have they done to the forms of not only Sebastian, like we've already pointed out from the likes of certain trailers, but also about the fact of the matter is though, whatever happened to Flounder? Like, he's small. Like, he's now significantly smaller. And he's nothing like the forms of how it does it on the original counterpart, because, well, I have to admit, much like the forms of how it does it in the majority of the live-action version of The Lion King, he's completely emotionless. So because of that, though, I just seriously can't even believe they will gonna screw this up again. Especially concerning about the fact that, well, at the very least, we actually get ourselves the good thing when it comes to Disney-related at least, and that's what appears to be, recently we got ourselves a teaser trailer from the likes of the upcoming movie called Wish. And overall, the animation looks very promising, especially it's like a combination of 2D and 3D animation. So, as a result, I'm very curious able to actually check it out, especially concerning it's going to be releasing until at some point in November this year. So, at the very least, I actually have some high expectations for that film, especially because, you know, I'm very curious to see how that's going to bring us into. Oh, and on talking of which though, when it comes to the forms of live-action movie-related things, sadly though, Peter Pan and Wendy has officially came out just recently today on Disney+, and let me tell you, I'm not going to see that movie, and hopefully, I'm hoping anyway, that hopefully we're able to actually get a lot of backlash negative reviews during the forms of Peter Pan and Wendy, because let me tell you, it already disappoints me a lot, especially because concerning about the fact that, well, I just don't know. I just don't really care anymore when it comes to the forms of live-action Disney movies nowadays, because it's getting pretty stale, especially concerning about the fact that it ruins the actual nostalgia, like, loads of times. So, either way though, well, apart from that one particular thing in mind, that I will give some credit for, that's what appears to be both Cinderella and The Lion... No, not The Lion King, because The Lion King live-action version is pretty terrible to me. But regardless of everything else though, between Cinderella and... Oh jeez, almost gonna get crushed again. So anyway, between both Cinderella and The Jungle Book, I think these films are passable, at least as far as I'm aware. Although despite it's nowhere near as good as the forms of how it does in the original animated counterparts to me though, but regardless of such though, it does things slightly a bit different when it comes to the forms of its narrative and all that stuff. So, anyway, so let's just go ahead and hop into this canon right here, and I've almost going to screw myself up, but regardless of such though, this is all completely automated, so as a result, once you finish up with this particular section right there, we ended up in the final room in the extra stage, and something tells we come across into a massive fall with the forms of that particular magic point, and after this, then something tells me that that particular theme music in the background is actually based off from Lord Starcutter, and also we got ourselves a actual name made up with the forms of the actual star blocks, which spelled out Magolor, which I think is actually pretty cool, especially concerning because we did play as Magolor the whole way throughout the majority of the adventure. So either way, we got a gold medal at the end, and we got the insane amount of those magic points, including even more magic points, so yeah. Pretty awesome, I'm telling you. Pretty awesome to end things off. And then once you finish the extra stage, you get yourselves a congratulations screen, or should I say Magolor Epilogue, all stages cleared, meaning you basically done everything in Magolor Epilogue. So overall, it's actually a really cool side mode, especially because concerning about the fact that, well, despite the co-op thing is a bit chaotic at points, because obviously about the fact that the camera does not keep up with you, or anything else like that, so... And I don't think I can probably able to actually level up my max status when it comes to the forms of Magolor himself, unfortunately. But at least I did manage able to max out my levitation alongside with the forms of my health. And especially noticeable with Magic Barrier. And heck, even especially noticeable as you can see, Magolor Cannon. So, and I suppose that pretty much does it for the likes of Magolor Epilogue. So, yeah. That's as far as we can able to actually say about this entire mode. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. So let's just head back to the title screen. And suffice to say, I think we should probably end things off at this point right here. So join me soon enough, or to join me next time for more of Let's Play of Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe is that we're about to be tackling through the arena. So I don't know when I'm about to be back on this though, but I'll let you guys know about it. So I'll see you guys at some point soon. Later, fellas.